Oh look, another video of someone redesigning Ash's team. How original, I know. Is what I would say, but for the sake of variety, let's do something different and redesign the teams of Ash's traveling companions instead. After all, Ash is not the only main character of his series, its companions are just as important to the story and character dynamic of the show, and today, I'll be giving them their time to shine, because while some of them have good team/members, some of their team/team members are kind of interesting/bland, and the dynamic could be touched up a bit/improved personally, and I want to put my own spin on it, designing their team. So, yeah, let's begin, starting with Ash's original companions, Brock and Misty. For Misty, I will be giving her Starmie, Kingdra, Politoed, Golduck, Corsola, and Gyarados/Mega Gyarados. Not a lot of changes to start things off, but that's partially because Misty's original team was already pretty fitting/good for her personally. Only thing that really changed is cut out Starmie in favor of giving Staryu a character arc, adds Horsey to her roster to replace the loss of Starmie, and give it a character arc of starting off as weak, which is basically what we saw in the anime anyways, but it then grows to be more powerful and protective of its fellow water types as time goes on and it evolves. Plus, hey, Kingdra's pretty strong, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised they never added it to her team in the games, but yeah, I digress. I chose Golduck because while Psyduck is fine enough as comic relief and a secret badass, I thought making it evolve would be even funnier, and also make it scenes where it kicks ass all the more better. Legit, the Pokédex entry talks about Golduck being a great swimmer, so if Misty's Golduck kept its pre-evolution trait of being unable to swim just flailing around the water, that'd be depressing, yes, but it'd also be hilarious. Corsola is pretty solid, so I wouldn't really change it up too much on that end, but if Misty ever returned for the Galar series, aka Journeys, I would certainly have a scene of her Corsola interacting with the Galarian variant, i.e. having her try to be friendly with it and using Tackle, but it just phases through it because it's a ghost. Politoed's also solid, so that just leaves Gyarados, which I would have Misty catch as a Magikarp early on, and then have its character arc of it being useless and or dumb, or being friends with Psyduck, and then evolve into a Raging Demon after seeing Psyduck or Misty get hurt, and then one-shots the Pokemon/trainer attacking them, basically giving Misty more time to grow a bond with her Gyarados than her canon self did. And that's about it for Misty, so let's move on to Brock. Brock would have Steelix, Golem, Crobat, Toxicroak, Rampardos, and Blissey. Again, not much of a change here, but Brock's team was mostly solid, pardon the pun, so there wasn't really much to change here. Steelix would be with Brock more often, though, so we'd see it evolve on screen this time instead of off, and it'd go Mega when fighting against Ash in the Alola region. Golem was chosen because Geodude hardly did anything in the show, and I wanted to fix that by giving him more to do, and giving him an arc where he's still mature and strong, but as time goes on, he begins to get outclassed as Onix and Brock Zubat get used more often, and stronger, and so he begins to train to protect his trainer and teammates, i.e. have Ash and friends trapped in a deep mine and Graveler has to evolve to save them by using its increased strength to move the boulders trapping them, but it would make him harder to beat in a battle since now Golem is bulkier/stronger than as a Geodude, but at the same time, it would be a nice addition to Brock's team and give his Geodude more to do. Plus, Golem's pretty badass, so yeah. Crow was solid enough on Brock's original team, so there was not much I would change there, except for maybe helping Golem with finding lost or injured Pokemon thanks to its sonar and Golem strength. But Rampardos, that's a big change. Why did I give Brock the rock dinosaur with the quote-unquote big brain? Well, a couple of reasons. Because it fits him typing and personality-wise, save for the rampaging part, and also for comedic relief, because, well, I could see Brock trying to pick up girls by using Rampardos as a mode of transportation or riding upon it like a steed, and Rampardos just goes along with it, and then Krogan would jab the both of them because they were doing something stupid. Plus, Rampardos is strong stat-wise, so it could also help out the team during the non-comedic scenes, which would become more common throughout this version, because this is where my change for Krogan comes in. See, after a while, Krogan begins to get tired of jabbing the two. It's become more tiring than helpful, and as such, it begins to distance itself from the trainer it was previously good pals with. Brock would notice this, and unlike a certain episode from Journey, the one where Pikachu was acting like a little bitch, Brock would realize why Krogunk is more distant from him and Rampardos, and promise Krogunk that he will work to calm that side of him since Krogunk means as much to him as his other Pokemon. With newfound vigor and motivation, the two become friends again, and Krogunk begins his character arc of being more chill and less angry/jab happy, as Brock begins to pull less of his shtick of hitting on every female he meets, leading to Krogunk's evolution after beating Saturn's Toxicroak and asserting his dominance over the fallen Toad.
Stop teabagging the Greystone!
And since Brock is no longer a main character after Sinnoh, I figured this would be a nice cap to his character outside of his new dream of being a Pokemon doctor, hence why I had him slowly stop hitting on girls in this version. Might as well have him complete his arc since he's done with Sinnoh anyways. Though, speaking of Doctor, His Apini would evolve earlier in this version, though still retain its strength and evolve into Blissey in that episode, evolve into Chansey in the OG series, because finality for Brock and all that jazz. However, since Brock would still become a doctor in this version, his Alolan reappearance would mostly focus on that over rock types, so he would still keep his Blissey, his Toxicroak, and Steelix for medical purposes, like Toxicroak removing toxins and poisons from people, or Steelix helping people in need, but he would also have Comfey, Alolan Ninetales for fevers and for ice packs, and Delcatty for burns, comfort, and other assorted illnesses that need treatment. Anyways, that takes care of Indigo and whatever. Moving on to May. She would have Blaziken, Beautifly, Vaporeon, Gardevoir, Altaria, and Milotic. Blaziken and Beautifly were already really solid and good enough Pokemon for May, so I decided to keep them. Vaporeon I chose because I thought it would be more fitting for her as a coordinator than Glaceon due to its subjectively looking more pretty than Glaceon, and, well, easier to evolve into since Kanto makes it pretty easy to get the 3 elemental stones for Eevee, and it can fill the role of a silent but deadly competitor in the contest battles, so it still does kind of fit into May's development of choosing Pokemon less focused on beauty over time. As for Gardevoir, she was chosen not because of beauty, but because May and Gardevoir are empathetic people, so I thought it would be fitting for May to get one. Milotic was chosen because it's somewhat tied into May's development as a coordinator, since, well, May started off as someone weak and inexperienced in contests, but she gradually blossomed and matured over time, which is somewhat similar to how Phoebeth starts off as weak, but gradually blossoms into a thing of beauty after evolving, which is basically maturing for a Pokemon. And finally, Altaria was chosen for not only type diversity on our team, but also because it fits May's personality as well to an extent. Also, May was close to getting a Swablu on her team back in the OG show, and would have likely got a Swablu's Pact in return, so it's not like May's against having a Swablu on her team. Needless to say, May would certainly be a bigger threat than she was in the OG show with this team. Until she got to Dawn, that is. Well, maybe. Because much like May, Dawn would also be starting off as inexperienced in the field of contests, but would mature and grow over the course of the series. If only her personality and dialogue grew to be less annoying, but I digress. She is a good coordinator, so I did try to give her a decent team to reflect that in this. So, we have Piplup, Pachirisu, Lopunny, Togekiss, Furret, and Rapidash to represent Dawn's contest team. Piplup and Pachirisu were good enough characters in the show and were good in contests, so that's why I kept them. I evolved Baneri to try and give her a character arc, first falling in love with Pikachu, but eventually maturing her feelings of him after spending more time with him and the rest of the crew, as well as spending more time training for contests. So much so that her evolution is caused by her protecting Pikachu during a snowstorm after the cast got lost in the mountains and were trying to find each other, and then Pikachu fell over protecting Baneri, and then Lopunny's arc would be wrapped up with her still loving Pikachu, but loves him being happy more, so she decides to focus more on contests and her training, and if Pikachu ever felt those feelings for her, she'd be waiting. Basically, she would be prioritizing contests and helping others more than loving Pikachu, which I think is a good enough compromise for this Mon. And she'd be stronger as a Lopunny, so there's also that. Now, Togekiss was also a good character / Mon, so there's not much of a change I would make there. However, I did add Furret and Rapidash to her team over Mamoswine and Quilava, because I felt that Mamoswine was incredibly ill-fitting for Dawn to have in terms of personality and arc, and Quilava was really underwhelming, and its feud with Piplup was boring and uninteresting personally. So with Furret and Rapidash, I feel that these would be more fitting for Dawn's personality, and as contest Pokemon, they would be really solid with their type coverage and beauty. Now on to Univa. And to kick things off, we have Iris. I don't like this character. Okay, I'll do my best regardless. Iris would still have her Excadrill and Dragonite, but her Exie would be fully evolved into Haxorus here. She'd have Snivy instead of Ash getting it and evolve it into Superior, because I feel it would help Iris in terms of growing as a Dragon Master in person. Iris would also get a Hydreigon, because I think it could make for some humorous scenes with Dragonite and Haxorus, with Hydreigon trying to bite into everything, and her biting heads with Dragonite a lot. Plus, it'd be good development for Iris as a trainer, specifically in dragons, since taming a Dark Hydra would be a good sign that she is growing further as a Dragon Master / trainer, and her goal was to be a Dragon Master after all. And finally, I'd give Iris a Beartic, to have her work on her fear of ice types through exposure therapy, and also for type coverage on her team. Plus, it could make for some cute scenes of Axew and Cubchoo interacting with one another, and then after the two evolve, the two could butt heads, but end up getting stuck due to the ice and Axis getting stuck, and then one of Iris's mods would have to just pull them apart. Could make for some good stuff. But yeah, that takes care of Iris. Let's move on to Silent. He would have Pansage, Crustle, Clefable, Genesect, Liepard, and Meganium. Like the others, Pansage and Crustle were good enough to keep in this, and Liepard is included for a similar reason as Beartic. to help silence fear through the use of exposure therapy, because developing and growing from fears helps makes us stronger, or in this case, character stronger. Well, at least that's my excuse anyways. My bad motivational speaking aside, I also feel that Leipard would be good for type coverage and also help Silent during his investigation/detective moments in the show, thanks to it being sneaky and mysterious, so maybe that could also help them get along and slowly curb Silent's fear over time. Clefable was chosen because much like how Clefable can serve many purposes in battle, Silent can also serve many purposes and duties as shown during his adventures in Univa and beyond. The dude's a connoisseur for a reason, and he did a lot of some weird shit, so it could work. Now, Genesect was chosen because Silent is a fan of science, and what better fit than a Pokemon made through science that isn't Mewtwo, and more accessible since it came from Univa. Plus, as shown with Ash, Mallow, and Lily and Alola, the series isn't afraid to let the main cast have a mythical Pokemon on their team, so it could work for Silent to have Genesect here. And finally, I gave him a Meganium to help him being a connoisseur and a chef. That's really about it. Yeah, I was kind of strapped for ideas at this point, so let's just move on to Serena. She would have Delphox, Sylveon, Pangoro, and Furfur. Delphox and Pangoro were already great in the show, but I feel like they could have had an interesting dynamic in development with Serena and showcases if they reached their final evolutions and had to adapt to their new looks and bodies, like with Pangoro. Plus, it could make for some humorous scenes, not just with getting used to their new forms, but also with Pangoro and Chespin. Hey, maybe Chespin would actually evolve in this one, but more on that later. Sylveon was already a good being, so not much would change with her, so that just leaves Furfur. I added this one because I feel like it would match Serena personality-wise, and it matches Showcase decently well. Anyways, we're moving on to Clement. He would keep his Luxray, but he would also have his Bunnelby evolve into Diggersby, he would have a Magnezone, he would evolve his Chespin into Chestnut, he would also have a Porygon Z, and a Trevenant. He already owns a Magneton, so that was an easy choice, and Magnezone would be a good challenge in gym battles, so there's that. Chestnut was chosen so that Chespin would have actually something to do outside of being comic relief, and it could also help out Bonnie and Dedenne when Clemont isn't around. Porygon Z was chosen because I feel like that would be fitting towards Clemont's technological and scientific aspects of his personality, and Trevenant may seem like an odd choice because of its design, but it is depicted as a protector of the forest and habits, and Clemont does look after his Pokemon and Bonnie really well, so it kinda works here. So yeah, that takes care of Kalos. We're heading off to Alola now. Lana would have Primarina, Vaporeon, and Araquanid. Yeah, the Alolan crew won't have too many mons due to the amount of main characters in the series, so quick apologies for that. But yeah, Lana wouldn't have many changes to her team when compared to her OG team, except I would have her Eevee, which I still think was a good choice for Lana to have over Ash, mind you, evolve into a Vaporeon near the end of the series instead of... oh, right, it still hasn't evolved yet. So to decide, let's talk about Araquanid. In this version, the dupe item Lana finds would still make its network, but after making it, it would take on many more enemies that try to invade its domain and eventually evolve, but it would lose its home after an earthquake hit and sank the home beneath the waves. Lana would then offer it a home on her team, and it would accept, protecting Lana's family from intruders and threats when Lana's at school and stuff, and also helping Lana and her father when they leave Alola at the end of the series. So yeah, now on to Kiawe. He already has a solid team, and I can't really think of many changes for him, so yeah, we'll just move on to Lily. She would have Alola Ninetales, Magarna, and Rabombi. Yes, I am still salty Lily's Vulpix never evolved, why do you ask? In all seriousness though, I think it would be neat to let Snowy evolve, and that's basically why. Magarna would be the same as it was back in the OG show, so not much to really say on that one. But I gave Lily a Rabombi because I thought it would be fitting for Lily's character, and also to give Snowy a friend so that she wouldn't basically be joined to Lily by the hip all the time like she was in the shop. Now, that leaves Go, but here's the thing. I can't really make a team for him yet. Not only because the series is still ongoing, but also because Go doesn't really have a main team, save for Sobble and Reboot/Cinderace. Instead, he has more of a rotating/inconsistent team. As such, it's kinda hard to determine a team for him. Now, maybe once the series ends, I could give him one, but as it stands, I can't really do much for him. So that covers basically all of Ash's companions. Do you agree with the changes? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And until we meet again, I'm David Grimm, and thank you for watching.